I keep trying to find a way in which you're willing or I can teach, or I don't know what the answer is, these phrasal verbs. I can't emphasize it enough that phrasal verbs, you cannot speak English without phrasal verbs. And you cannot understand American speakers without phrasal verbs. So I'm going to try. If you have any suggestions how this can be better for you, let me know, because it's important. It's important, okay? Now the first one we start out with here, and this is taken from the group of 100 most important ones, okay? We'll concentrate there, is the phrasal verb ask out. Now, it's different in Spanish, but it's very similar in Spanish. So ask out is to invite somebody to go with you somewhere in order to start a romantic relationship. That's how it's usually said. You can separate this, and that means you can insert between the verb and the particle or the preposition. You can put another word in there. In addition, you can either say ask out, or like the example here, ask somebody out. Okay, so that's called a separable phrasal verb, and this is a way to use it. Okay, so let's look at these sentences. If you want to keep things informal, ask her out for lunch or coffee. And there you can see her. Her is put in there between ask and out, and so that is using the form of ask her out. The next one, every time I try to ask her out, my legs get weak and start to shake. Go down to the next one, example, do men like it when women ask them out? Well, them is now put between the verb and the preposition. If you really like him, ask him out. And finally, should I ask her out on a date? Now you need to sort of really learn these in the phrase in the sentence itself to give you a better understanding of the word and how it's used, and the sentence construction in which it is used. It was suggested by a web page on teaching phrasal verbs that the best thing to do is that when you try to teach a group of phrasal verbs, that you do it by keeping the same verb, but to change the preposition or what they call the particle. And I'm going to try that, and let me know if that helps you to better understand and to use phrasal verbs in that way. The first one we have is ask after, and the further explanation is ask after somebody, and it's inseparable. It simply means you can't put a word between the verb and the particle. And the definition, of course, to inquire how somebody's doing. And we have some examples down here. I heard he's in Calatura prison. I don't know where that is. And I wrote to the government asking after him. Asking after him. Okay? So he's inquiring about the guy's well-being. The next day, her brother came to ask after her. And you've got to remember that ask after her as asking after him. And you got to look at the verb and make sure you use the verb correctly. Like in the first one, you have asking after, which is present continuous, and the next one says to ask after her. Okay, and be sure to change the verb conjugation to match the sentence itself. The next one is ask about or ask around, and it again is inseparable. It means to make inquiries. So I'll ask around to see if there's a room vacant somewhere. You're making an inquiry. You're asking in the neighborhood for your friend to find out if there is a room vacant in your neighborhood that I guess your friend can rent. The next one is I'm going to ask about to see if anyone has any suggestions of other products. Ask about. As I said, you're going to make inquiries. I'm going to inquire to see if anyone has any suggestion or other products. And the first one, I'll ask in the neighborhood and see if there's a vacant room somewhere. As I've often explained, you can use a dictionary or a formal English verb. One is in the dictionary in place of the phrasal verb. But you have to understand what it says first before you can enter in the word, and if your vocabulary is large enough. The next one is ask for. Ask for something. In other words, you want help, you want to receive something, you ask for something, you have trouble. Okay, we can look at those sentences. In other words, you're requesting something. Ask for. They have written to the actress asking her for her help in raising money for Nicaraguan children. Ask for, to make an inquiry. It's used with help. If you're donating items to charitable organizations, don't forget to ask for a receipt. And I guess these are some of the words you use with it in this particular case to go with that. So if you're donating items to charitable organizations, don't forget to ask for a receipt for tax purpose. And the third one, anyone who sends a credit card number via email is asking for trouble. Okay. And of course, you can insert words in there which are not phrasal verbs, I have written to the actress inquiring for her help, requesting her help. And next one, if you're donating items to charitable organizations, don't forget to ask for a receipt. Request a receipt. Okay? To ask for means to request a receipt. And anyone who sends a credit card number by email is asking for trouble. And you can use in there is finding trouble, as email is looking for trouble, will receive trouble. You can add something, you can use other words in there, and I'm sure you understand that since that is formal English, but this is informal English, and that's the language we speak. The next one is ask in. Ask somebody in. To ask in means to invite somebody into your house, office, or whatever. And reading the sentences, don't leave them standing on the doorstep, ask them in. Doorstep means simply, it's another way of saying, don't let them standing outside. The doorstep is that step you usually have in front of the door. It's called a doorstep. So it essentially means any, if you're outside office or whatever, it doesn't have to be a step there. Don't let them standing on the doorstep, ask them in. Or, don't let them standing on the doorstep, invite them to enter. The next one, ask her in, I want to talk to her. Okay, ask her in, I want to talk to her. And you can say, invite her in, I want to talk to her. That'd be another word to use in that place. We've already covered ask over, so let's go to the next one, ask around. So ask around, ask somebody round. And, you know, what it means is invite somebody to your house. And I know it's kind of hard to get the meaning from that, so let's take a look at the sentences. Let's ask them around for a meal next week. Or you can say, let's ask them over, or let's ask them to our house for a meal next week. And the other one is, I asked her round for dinner last week, but she declined. I asked her to come to our house for dinner last week, but she declined. Okay, I'm trying to follow that formula, see if this works for you. Remember, you only change the preposition or particle after the verb. It's the same verb. Try to memorize these, use them in sentences, use them when you speak to people. Okay? Got any comments? Let me know.